This is Keep On Cooking, a podcast for people who love cookbooks and want to know more about the authors. It's also a great place to get a weekly dose of culinary inspiration to keep things pumping in the kitchen. So grab a cookbook and keep on cooking. I'm Dustin Harder, and this is Keep On Cooking. Hello and welcome to Keep On Cooking, the only podcast dedicated to plant-based cookbooks. I'm your host, Dustin Harder, and he's the hurricane beneath my wings, the cohort in the kitchen. It's my husband, David Rossetti. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Hey, listen, we're back
sure
again. I'm doing great. We took a little fun in the sun, summer break, and we're back and ready to bring you some great authors and deep dives into some fabulous books.
Yes. We're super excited to be back. And we've got some great guests coming up. Let's a couple little sneak peeks here. We've got Jenna Hamshaw of The Full Helping. We've got Colleen Patrick Goudreau of Joyful Vegan. And then our favorite guest host returns. Natalie Slater of Baked and Destroy is back on the pod. So you got to stay tuned for that coming up lime up. That coming up lime up.
That good lime up. We love a good lime. A little dash of lime makes some things pop. That good line up. It's always a treat to have Natalie back on. I love her so much. And we spent some time in Chicago this summer because we have our eyes set on moving there next year, y'all. And it's funny we say we were on summer break from the podcast, but we've been recording this whole time. So really, it's just maybe a break from releasing episodes, but that episode with Natalie was one of those that we recorded back in July.
Yeah, that's right. We've kind of kept rolling along this whole time, but it allowed us just some time to get some good interviews in the vault, in the can, as they say in the biz, that we're going to start releasing now. But before we dive into some of the interviews, we have some big news we should share.
My goose!
Hot off the presses.
Yes. Well, after much consideration, and I literally think this decision was 2 years in the making. I mean, there's a lot of conversations, a lot of like calls with people to see their thoughts on it and things like that. People, on in the social media influencer world, things like that. But I've officially changed the name of my Instagram. So what once was The Vegan Roadie is now just simple at the Dustin Harder. So you can find everything about me, this podcast, even the Vegan Roadie show, all the things I do at the Dustin Harder on Instagram. And what was once veganroadie.com is now dustinharder.com.
Oh, look at that.
A little update, a long overdue update, essentially, because the Instagram was created to promote and support the show, the web series, The Vegan Roadie. And of course, we stopped filming in 2017. So I kind of kept using the Instagram as my own personal Instagram, and then and people were following it as that. But then, of course, I get the question like, "Well, are there more Vegan Roadie episodes coming?" And I'm just always like, I really want there to be, but like time and money and all those things. So I really changed it just to give more of an authentic offering of like where I am and what I'm doing and what I'm up to and what I'm able to bring to Instagram, essentially.
Yeah, and the Vegan Roadie is still available to watch.
On YouTube.
So that's not going away.
I mean, on YouTube, but also at dustinharder.com.
That's right.
Of course, you scroll down there on the homepage, you will find that very first promo shot from 2014, and it says watch all the episodes. Click on that, takes you right to a page where you can watch all the episodes.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
So Vegan Roadie is still alive and well on the dustinharder.com website. Other things we have on that website, speaking of an update and what I'm offering now. So we've got a cooking club that we're doing once a month, and you can join that for free. So if you go to dustinharder.com, click on join the cooking club, there you are. You're going to get a recipe in your inbox and then an invite to join me basically for a cooking club virtually online once a month. And the first one coming up, I think it's going to be September 14th. So go sign up now, September 14th. You'll get information in your inbox a couple days before about how to join me for that. It offers details on how you can connect with me on recipe and brand development or partnerships, anything like that. Still, of course, there's free recipes at dustinharder.com, just like there were at veganroadie.com. And the podcast is on there. So, of course, If you again scroll on the homepage, you'll see it says Keep on Cooking Pod. There's a photo and all that stuff like that. You can go click on it, takes you right to the page with all the episodes of Keep on Cooking. And perhaps the biggest new offering is that I'm now offering coaching. So I'm offering one-on-one strategy and cooking coaching. And what does that look like? That means if you are new to veganism, or maybe you've been at it a long time, but you want to get some new inspiration going in the kitchen, or maybe you have some health goals you want to achieve, I can help you stay accountable in the kitchen, or I can help you with recipes and menu planning, shopping, all of those things. So I'm offering one-on-one coaching. And this is sort of a culmination of like my life coming together.
Truly.
To just offer guidance from things that I've learned over the years with my transition into a vegan lifestyle, David's transition into a vegan lifestyle, all of my experience with all of my cooking endeavors, including culinary school, private chefing, everything all coming together to get a one-on-one approach with you to help you wherever you're at in your journey with eating plants. If you want to have a one-on-one discovery call, there is a button to click on there. We can chat and see what your goals are and how I can help you help yourself, essentially, right? Well,
which is another reason why the name, the website change.
Yes.
Through this experience that you've had since the vegan roadie has been so amazing, y'all. And I mean, I've personally dealt with the coaching, and he's incredible.
Babe,
take a picture of what's in your fridge and he can make you like 3 meals out of it. Like,
babe,
like what's in your pantry, take a photo, he'll figure it out, he'll help you.
Oh, honey, thank you. I love
course.
you. That's so sweet.
You
Look at that. I got an endorsement right over here.
That's
from
right.
This guy.
From me that eats it every day.
Oh my goodness. Well, listen, we're gonna start things off with a bang this week. We have Chef Bai. She's our Bai. Her name is Bailey Ruskus, and she's here to chat about her cookbook, Cook, Heal, Go Vegan, a delicious guide to plant-based cooking for better health and a better world.
Chef Bai is a seasoned chef and a holistic nutrition and health coach. She trained at Le Cordon Bleu, which is just so fun to say, in San Francisco.
Really is satisfying.
Right? Le Cordon Bleu, and uses her culinary expertise to create rich flavors with clean, nourishing ingredients, helping her clients transition from the standard American diet to a nutrient-dense, plant-based diet. Not only for general health reasons, but in some cases, she even helped reverse chronic health issues in some of her clients.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to her Instagram, it's at chef_Bai, Bai. If you go there, like, she does these really cool videos. I'm sure it's on TikTok as well. The youth in TikTok. I'm on TikTok now. Actually, I got to check out the TikTok world and see. Anyways, but if you go to her Instagram, she does these videos where she really talks about specific ingredients and how they help you. And it's very digestible, fun information. So it's cool to sort of have that resource available to you. And she's inspired by her French culinary training. She set out to rethink the traditional comfort foods people crave, using life-giving plants for healing from the inside out. Special note that most of Bailey's recipes are gluten-free and all are free of refined sugars, which I love.
I know you love.
I love
your journey. And Chef Bailey even includes sample meal plans and tips for what to expect in order to build a reader's confidence, which I think that, like, I'm seeing more and more of kind of like meal planning and as part of kind of a lot of cookbooks.
I mean, it's such an important part of just having a successful and consistent diet plan. Essentially, when I say diet, I mean lifestyle plan, not like crash diet.
Because it's like easy to think of like the one recipe, sure, but how do you
incorporate it into your whole week? And ultimately, people, I mean, not to sidetrack on meal planning, but if you meal plan, you're going to save money because you're going to eat the things that you buy. Like, that's the whole point of grocery shopping. You're supposed to be shopping for the things you need and using them, right? Aside from a couple like pantry staple items. But that's the cool thing about meal planning. You shop it, you buy it, you cook it, you eat it. Done and done. Money saved, no food wasted, all the above.
All of the above. Well, we also want to mention that she has a podcast of her own called The Plant Remedy, which features interviews on plant-based living with chefs, doctors, entrepreneurs, environmentalists, and more.
Yes, I love it. Listen, the podcast is fantastic, and Chef Bai is a badass. I just want to say that before we dive in. I absolutely adored getting to know her. And some of y'all who follow her know that her husband, Steve, is all up in her Instagram at chef_Bai. He is an absolute sweet potato, and I just love watching their relationship. They're so lovely. And the book is bright and colorful, just like the author and her hubby. We're so glad she stopped by to chat about her first cookbook. Cook, Heal, Go Vegan. Here she is, Chef Bai. She's here to make the world a better place, one bite at a time. And she's got the plant remedy. She will help you cook. She will help you heal. And most importantly, she will help you go vegan. It's Bailey Ruskus, AKA Chef Bai. Hey, hey, welcome to the Keep on Cooking pod. Bailey, thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thanks. I'm so hyped to be here.
Yes. And we're going to dive right in with your icebreaker question.
Ooh.
If you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life, which one would you choose?
Oh my gosh.
I know, right?
I don't think I can answer this, to be honest.
Very hard. Even when I put mine down, I was like, I guess.
Oh my gosh, if I could only listen to one album for the rest of my life. Wow, this is such a rough start. I have no idea.
That's all right.
Suddenly, I don't even remember any music that I listened to. I don't
Well,
know.
I'll answer mine and maybe think about one that you have played on repeat, because that's where I ended up having to go with this question for myself.
Okay,
Like I
okay,
was like,
okay.
well, what's one that I've put on repeat where it didn't drive me crazy, but also I had to put it on repeat out of necessity. So when I was filming season 2 of the Vegan Roadie, when you hit like the upper states like Wyoming, Montana, all that, we lost service completely,
Mm,
which means we lost like Spotify, everything like that. And I
yeah.
had one CD in the van. It was Taylor Swift's 1989.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, we don't have a choice. Like, I'm also can't drive. We listened to it nonstop. And I was like, I don't mind this. I'm okay with this. So
You're
then I
like,
was like,
I'm good.
yeah, I was like, and then we were like jamming after a while. And I was like, I guess this is my one, even though I wouldn't have necessarily picked that. I pulled it because of like a memory I had with it where I was like, well, I was forced to listen to this on repeat and it didn't drive me crazy. And then eventually I really got into it too.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you know all the words too, it's just a belter. I mean, it's so funny. I think my answer, I'm gonna probably listen to this and be like, I can't believe I said that. But you know, to that tune, like if I was on a road trip or something, or if I'm with my girlfriends or my mom,
Yeah.
we always listen to I forget which album it is, but it's a Dixie Chicks album from
Oh,
like back in the day. And like,
great.
it always hits. You always cry during, one of the songs. Like it's always
Very
hits,
good.
which is so funny because I'm really into, like 90s hip hop. I also
Sure.
love like house music. I love to go dance. It's like I just love it. Living in San Diego, there's such a scene there. So, but yeah, I don't know if I were to think like
No,
that I could.
that's very good. It almost makes me want to change my answer. But to that note, I can't decide which Chicks album I would want to listen to. So it's
Oh yeah, I
interesting.
guess they're just the chicks now. I
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah. I mean, everyone, we're all making the shift as people change their names and do the things,
That's
trying to
true.
remember. You say
It
Dixie
takes a
Chicks for
minute.
a long time. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wonder which album of theirs I would choose, but that is a good one. It doesn't matter. They're all good to listen to all the
The
way through. I
early
will
ones
say
are my
that.
fave. I can't get
So good.
into the later ones. I like the early
Sure.
nostalgic ones, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's good stuff. Especially that first one. It's like hit after hit after hit on
I
there.
know.
Yep.
I know.
Mhm. Well, you are a classically trained chef. You trained at Le Cordon Bleu in San Francisco. So before going to vegan food, before it was a big part of your life, tell us a bit about your history in cooking and when and why it shifted into plant-based cooking.
Yeah, I guess I'll just make a super long story as short as I can.
Give us the story.
Whole
Yes.
life story. So I've just always been obsessed with food, like I was just always cooking here at my parents' house. It was always just something I loved to do. Would go visit my grandma in LA. I grew up in Boulder. That's actually where I am right now. I'm visiting my parents' house. That's where it all started. I'm in my mom's office right now.
Lovely.
And I was just always baking, I was just always baking cookies and muffins. And then I got really into just like watching the Food Network and stuff. So I would, make raviolis. There's this video that my brother took of me one summer. I think I was not 8 or 9 years old, and I'm making chicken raviolis as an 8-year-old from scratch.
Just ready to go. Just
And
I'm gonna be over here doing this from
I was
scratch.
full cooking show set up. I'm cutting the chicken. I watched this video recently. It was so cringe. I'm cutting the chicken with a steak knife on a glass cutting board. And I was like, who let me do this?
Also, glass cutting boards. Every time if I go to someone's house and they're like, "Do you have a cutting board?" and they pull out a glass cutting board, I'm like, I just don't want to be around that. I don't
It
like it.
hurts my soul. You
Yes, and then
show.
the noise when you have to, your child. It's oh my gosh. But
It's really bad. So
yes.
yeah, so I got really into cooking really young, and it was always just like therapy for me, whether I had a great day or a really bad day.
Mhm.
It was just something I loved to do. Something that was easy for me. I got, I just had fun with it. And then when I was 11, I got my first job in a pastry kitchen for summer.
Okay.
My mom's friend's pastry shop is called the Grand Finale, and I made cannolis and put together pastry boxes and just like had the best time. And from there, that was always just my gig. Like was never into like, you know, extracurricular activities really. Like I did some stuff, but yeah, I love to just work in the kitchen. So I got a job all through high school, and then I ended up managing that bakery. I was
Wow.
waking up at like 4 in the morning before school in high school,
The
which is
bakery gig, honey, doing
I
those
know.
hours.
Oh my god, I had a good time though.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was I was a rebel in high school, so I definitely had a lot of fun. And it's funny because, I was a wild one in high school. I didn't get good grades. I just didn't really care, but like I was at work on time every single day.
Mhm.
Like and then I was like, maybe I'll skip first period or like it's
Yeah.
fine, whatever. So
Yeah.
then I went to culinary school right out of high school. Went to a Cordon Bleu and gained 30 pounds right out the
Sure.
bat, right
Sure.
out the gate. You're eating all this like super heavy food all the time. So, and just like so much bread and like so much
Yeah.
pork belly and like duck confit and like all,
Yeah.
pate and like I would literally steal blocks of Gruyere cheese from the walk-in. Like I don't know
Yes.
what I was doing.
Yes.
So
You were
yeah,
living your best life at the
I was
time,
living my best
apparently.
life at
Yeah.
the time, yeah. And then at the time, I was also working for one of the best pastry chefs in the city. So we were making, really amazing cakes. Like we made the Giants won the World Series in 2012, and so we made the World Series win cake, which was
Wow.
it was the stadium. So it was like two size the stadium cake, and it was just me and her. It took us 4 days. It was beautiful, like amazing.
Gosh.
Yes. So I
Wow.
got some really cool experiences living in San Francisco. And I started my private chef business when I was 19. I just was trying all the things. I worked for like a juice cleansing company. I worked
Mhm.
for restaurants, worked on the line. I bartended, I cocktail served, I served fine dining. Like I just wanted to be as immersed in the hospitality industry as humanly possible. And I got really into working front of house and like private chefing when I just had such a hard time in the back of the house. I had like a
Sure.
lot of like sexual harassment things
Yep.
happening, and it just was really toxic culture that I just
Yeah.
couldn't justify,
Yeah.
spending my time in. And yeah, I also had endometriosis during that whole time. So I was dealing with chronic pain from the time I was actually 11 until,
Wow.
I
11.
was
Jeez.
20,
Yeah.
26 or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty much my intro to everything. And then eventually my endometriosis pain got so bad that I just like was kind of such a crazy person because I was just trying to manage my pain. So I was
Yeah.
partying a lot, drinking a lot, like doing all the things. And I ended up moving back home with my parents when I was 24, 25, which was a very humbling experience after
Sure.
having this big life in San Francisco. And
Yeah.
then that's kind of when my whole health journey started. That's when I went back to school for nutrition. I was so sick of going to specialists that had no answers for me other than like birth control and, you know, hysterectomies and like
Yeah.
it wasn't real answers. I was like, I need a root cause. I mean, we need to deal with the root cause here.
Yeah.
I'm sick of band-aids. And I had been on every birth control since I was 11. So yeah, it's rough stuff. But then my health journey started. I moved to San Diego and I met my um, boyfriend, who's now my husband.
Mhm.
And
Steve.
he still loves Steve. He's the best. He was my good friend for a long time. And then we started dating. And he saw me firsthand, like struggling so hard with my endo. Like we were bartending together and I was also private chefing. I've just been a hustler. I'm always trying to
Sure.
like, I always like multiple streams of income,
Yeah.
And especially when I was younger, I had so many jobs all the time. I was just like, couldn't depend on one thing, just in case
Sure.
something happened, I needed like a backup plan. So yeah, I would end my bartending shifts like hysterically crying in my car because I was in so much pain,
Mhm.
So that was the life I was living, and he was taking me to the hospital all the time. I would say on average, like once a month, every time I got my period, I was in the hospital begging for morphine because I was just in so much
So much
pain.
pain.
Yeah. So then I had surgery. Um, I think within the first year of us together, did not go well, like at all. It was like
Ugh,
such a mess. And then we watched, I think, one documentary. I think it was what like right when What the Health first came out.
sure. Yeah.
And then we just like dove into all the research on, dairy and estrogen and all the things. And he looked at me and he's like, "We're going vegan.
Oh,
We're doing this
see?
together." So cute. He just couldn't see me suffer like that anymore. So
Yeah.
we both went vegan and we've never gone back.
And so after you went vegan with all of your symptoms, when did you start to notice a difference?
It was like gradual. It's funny
Yeah,
because I always say most people like have no idea how good they can really feel. So there was a lot of
sure.
symptoms that I didn't know were symptoms. Like
Sure.
I said this in a podcast last week, but I used to have nightmares all the time. And
Mm,
once I stopped eating animal products, after a couple months I stopped having nightmares every night.
interesting.
So interesting, right?
Yeah.
And just little things like that, like I had really bad acne, my skin texture was super rough,
Mhm.
and like my skin's just like I never thought I would have clear skin ever.
Yeah.
Like I just
Yeah.
always thought I was going to have problems with my skin or just overall puffiness or like
Right.
anxiousness or
Mhm.
I was kind of aggravated all the time, and I just there those were the symptoms I didn't really realize were symptoms.
Right.
My eyes were brighter and
Sure.
clearer. My breath was better. Like Steve's body odor changed. Like that was one of the craziest things that we noticed is his body odor just changed so much. We were like, damn,
Oh, crazy.
this whole time.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I mean the meat sweats, I guess, are a real
Yeah,
thing.
right? No kidding. So cool that you did this together and then he was there for you like that, but it's so great to have somebody when you make that transition, especially when you were experiencing this
Mhm.
this traumatic experience you've had for a decade longer than that at that point, and then to
16
start
years, yeah.
it'd be easy. I think, you've tried all the Western medicine attempts, all these things like that, to go into something like this and to really start to explore it. It's nice to have somebody who's like, we're doing this, and it feels
Yeah.
to lean on that is so special.
It's so necessary, and I think it doesn't like, if someone's listening, they're like, "Oh, I'm single," or "My husband or my wife
Hmm.
or whoever would never." It doesn't have to be your spouse,
Yeah.
it can
Yeah.
be your bestie, your best friend, it can be your mom, it can be your dad, it can be your coworker, like, it could literally be
Yeah.
anyone, and I think a lot of times people just need other reasons to change. I think a lot of times, especially in my work with the clients I work with, a lot of people wait until it's too late
Sure.
or until their symptoms are so bad that their quality of life is so horrible that they do it because it's a last resort. And for me, going plant based and detoxing my life in so many other ways was a last resort for me. Like,
Hmm.
not eating cheese, all that stuff, it was last resort. I was like, there's no way that I could feel better. But like, once I was able to ditch all that stuff, I was able to get off my meds in 3
Yeah.
months. 3 months.
That's
That's it.
amazing.
After being on them for 16 years, and I'm talking like hormone replacements, the strongest birth controls, like opiates, like anti-inflammatory drugs, like everything that you can think of for endometriosis, I was on. Like I was even on a pill for a long time that kicked me into early menopause. Like you
Jeez.
can't tell me that that's good for me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
Like I don't know. It
Yeah.
seems the side effects outweigh any sort of band-aid or benefit. Um, and yeah, so I mean, I wish I didn't wait so long, I
Yeah.
would, but I didn't know any better. The
Sure.
culinary degree that I got from the Cordon Bleu taught me the opposite about food. So, I paid $100,000 to teach me how to make myself sick,
Yeah.
basically.
That has to
So
be the hardest, balance for you too. I was curious about that when you did switch to plants, like, I mean, did you have friends in the culinary world that were just like, "She's bananas. What is she doing?" Because you must have had
yeah.
colleagues and friends that you had from culinary school and people you had worked with.
So, I always felt like cooking meat, I was trying to fit into the boys club. I remember before I went plant-based, like a year before, I got hired to do this like glamping thing for like all these mega rich people in the Grand
Mhm.
Canyon. And I was making filet mignons and like, I don't know, just like stupid food. I think about it now and it's
While they
so
were
boring.
camping?
So boring
Oh
too.
my
I'm just like,
god.
ugh. But no offense to anyone listening, but I
Sure,
just, as
sure.
a chef, it's just like filet mignon, like, come on. Like, can we, and that's what they wanted. And I honestly, to be totally honest, I did not cook them well. Like, it was so bad.
You're like, all
I don't
right.
know what happened. And we were just outside, and I'm not a camper. We're having to go outside. I had to sleep in a tent in the Grand Canyon by myself.
Oh
All
my
these other
gosh.
people are glamping. It
Oh
was
my
just,
gosh.
it was not good for me. And then, so I mess up the food, and then everyone's like, not happy with me. And I'm just sitting there, like, not even excited about this menu that I
Yeah.
was forced to cook. And I was just
Yeah.
like, oh, like, I don't even want to be here.
What?
Why did I accept this job?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a metaphor for, I think, my relationship with chef culture in general, because I always felt like I was trying to fit into a box that I didn't create for myself.
Mhm. Mhm.
The box
Mhm.
was created for me. And as a woman, I was trying to be like, look how strong I am. Look at, I
Sure.
can fit in with you guys. Like,
Sure.
I can work all these hard hours. I can drink as much as you guys can. And I think once I finally like started really working on healing myself, I healed my relationship as to food as a chef, because I really
Yeah.
realized what my thing was.
Yeah, and
And
what you
that
bring to
was,
the table.
yeah, and I think that's really powerful too. And I think especially, and I did have a really good girlfriend. She's still one of my really good friends. She owns a bunch of restaurants now in the Bay Area. She's amazing, Paulina. And she was vegan before I was vegan. And she
Okay.
went like hardcore alkaline vegan. And I
Okay.
thought she was nuts. Like
Sure. Yeah.
she lost like 50 pounds. She was thriving. Her hair was like down to her butt. Like she
Yeah.
was just living her best life. She just looked so vibrant. And I think that I always had actually like had her in the acknowledgments of my book, because I always had her in my mind when I was making the switch. Like,
Mhm.
she was my bestie in culinary school. We were attached at the hip. And I'm like, if she can do this, I can do this.
Yeah.
She's alkaline vegan, and that is hard,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
you
it's
know?
lining it up. It's hardcore. It's getting into all the nuts and bolts of it. Yeah, really paying
Yeah.
attention to what you're making and what you're cooking. Well, that's inspiring and helpful to have a friend that was on the journey a little bit before you as well. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna dive into Cook, Heal, Go Vegan, your book. And before we do, though, I always ask my podcast authors, what's the first vegan cookbook that you had, or the one you've cooked from the most that you can recall? Or if not a book, maybe,
Okay.
yes, maybe.
It's the book. It's called Vegan Cheese.
Okay. Do you know who it's by?
I don't remember who it's by.
I have,
Oh
like,
my gosh.
4 vegan cheese cookbooks sitting in my office right now. I'm, like, wondering if it's one of them.
Yeah, it's called Vegan Cheese. I really
Okay.
like that one. I actually, I'm not a cook. So this is funny that I'm going to admit this, but I'm not a cookbook person.
That's alright. You're not the first author on the pod to say that. You don't have to be a cookbook person to write a cookbook. You gotta be a chef, and that's what you
I
are.
It's true, it's true. I have so many cookbooks actually. I have
Yeah,
so many of them, but I don't cook from any of them. I kind of use them more as like inspiration for
sure.
colors or textures going together or
Yep.
flavor building or something. A lot of times too, this is going to sound really weird, but I'll buy non-vegan cookbooks to inspire me to make vegan dishes. So like I love Anthony Bourdain's books because they're so weird and like the
Sure.
recipes are so grossly meat heavy, but I find inspiration in the way that he builds flavor within the recipes. So I
Yeah.
kind of have like blinders on to the meat
Yes.
products, and I
Yes.
see the way that, and it's like the food photography and like the plating and like all that stuff. So I find myself buying more non-vegan cookbooks than vegan cookbooks, which is
That
really
makes
interesting.
sense. Yeah, no, that makes sense because it's all about cooking all said and done. And
Yeah.
Miyoko Shinner was on, and she was saying the same thing about the first cookbook she ever had were cookbooks full of meat, but it helped her learn how to season her vegan food eventually. Then when she started working with
Yeah.
all vegan food, so it makes sense to me. And we're here to talk today about your fabulous cookbook.
Oh, look, there
Cook,
it is.
Heal, Go Vegan. So gorgeous and beautiful with that bright pink color. A delicious guide to plant-based cooking for better health and a better world. Can you give our listeners a little summary of the book before we dive in?
Yeah, the cookbook is just most of all my favorite recipes. When you do your first cookbook, you have a lot just waiting in the queue
Yeah.
for that moment.
Mhm.
Like my butter recipe is just so amazing. And I've just waited for so long to be able to put that somewhere. I just sometimes for recipes, you just feel like they're aren't worthy enough for your blog or
Sure.
Instagram. Like they need to go somewhere else. And so Yeah, it's just a collection of my favorite recipes. And also, I really designed the book so that if someone wanted to go vegan or go
Mhm.
more plant-based, or even in the same spectrum, learn how to cook better, learn how to really build flavor. If you were able to cook every recipe in this cookbook back to front, like there's so much variety there that I think it's really possible. I've had people who have done that. You are going to be a completely different cook and look at food completely differently once you finish your way through the book, because you're going to understand flavors from different cultures. You're going to understand how to, balance different spices, different fats, different forms of protein, and it's
Mhm.
all going to allow you to open up your brain so that eventually you don't really need the book or
Sure.
another book. It's going to
Sure.
help you kind of like get it all going so it's
Yeah.
easier for you to heal.
Yeah, you're giving people some tools, and I also think, just like you do on your Instagram and everything, you're also pointing out to people how ingredients can be functional and what
Mhm.
service they can have for us, as opposed to just being delicious food, which it is
Yeah.
also that. And from the jump, you give the home cook a rundown of best practices, touching on mise en place. For our dear
Mhm.
listeners, that is a French term that simply means putting in place. In cooking terms, read your recipe and have your ingredients ready to go. You talk about cooking with or without oil, soaking nuts
Mm.
and seeds, dairy alternatives, seasoning, baking, starches, and you even touch on intuitive eating and intuitive cooking. Can you elaborate a little bit more on your perspective of being intuitive in this aspect?
Yeah, I think talking about intuitive cooking and eating is like my way of saying to ditch diet culture.
Yes.
You know, I have such bad body dysmorphia myself because of endometriosis, all the surgeries I've had.
Mm.
I still to this day don't know what my body looks like. It's really interesting. Like I'll go on vacation and I'll take a picture of myself. And if I look at that picture of me in a swimsuit in that moment, I'll hate it. But if I look at it a month later, I'll be like, damn, girl, you're looking good, So
Yeah.
like I don't know what I look like. And I think it's so important for me to focus on food as a vessel for how I'm gonna feel and really intuitively line into like what that means for me and really think about how food's making me feel versus a certain outcome I want to get physically or surface level from a food. So I think that's so important, just coming from like that perspective, that
Mhm.
weird body image perspective that I think most people have, men and
Oh,
women,
yeah.
like however you identify. Most people I think have body image issues.
Yeah.
And I think it's just important that we look at food as something that can heal us
Yeah.
and really make us more vibrant, awake, aware, present people. And I think in order to do that, we just have to move intuitively with it
Yeah.
and to really listen to our bodies. And I think when I talk about intuitive with cooking, I always, it's so funny. I was messaging someone on Instagram yesterday and she's like, I did what you said. I measure with my heart. And I was like, yes.
I love
Because
it.
I really believe that, people I like every single time I post a recipe, there are at least 10 comments, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, on the blog, of people asking me how many calories are in each serving.
Yeah.
And I understand, but like at the same time, it sucks to hear that because it's like, are you only deeming this valuable if you're counting how
Mhm.
many calories are in it?
Mhm.
You're not asking me how many grams of protein are in it or how much fiber is in it or
Yep.
how many antioxidants are in it. All you're
Yeah.
asking me is how many calories because you want to know if you're worthy enough to eat this meal. And I
Yeah.
think I'm really trying to do my part in getting us away from that mentality because it's just so toxic.
Yes.
And overeating is definitely a thing, but if you're focused so hard on calories, like you're gonna overeat because
Mhm.
you're gonna have a moment where you're just like, can I say the F word on this
Yeah, go
podcast?
for it. Sure, yeah.
Where you're just like, fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah, yeah,
eat
yeah.
whatever I
Yes,
want.
yes,
Like
yes,
you have
yes.
a binging day and then that kind of just negates the whole thing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and, there are days when, I mean, yes, everything you're saying, right? We need to, uh, just be intuitive about it and feel good about what we're making choices with. And I think a way to feel good about it is to look at the overall picture and the ingredients that you're using and really what you're starting to cook with. I'm working on a book right now and the macros have to be in it. It's not my book. I'm developing recipes for it.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
I'm struggling with that a little bit, right? But all said and done, like, it's not my book and I understand there's a purpose, but I it's just like you're saying, I want people to look at all the numbers then. Don't just look at that first calorie one that's conveniently
That'll
listed
be
at
the
the very
last one.
beginning of it, right? But maybe we'll see that change in the world as
You
time
know,
progresses.
it's so funny because I'm writing another book right now,
Mhm.
and I am having such a hard time with it in the sense, and I haven't talked about this yet, but I'm having such a hard time with it because it's so interesting because I go in between like the chef and nutrition all the time. And I
Yeah.
also go in between like all the comments I'm getting of people who are allergic to things. And then I go
Mm.
in between all these advice that I'm getting from physicians about like, oh, you can't have oil or salt or this. And so when I'm making a recipe, now I have all this noise
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh, should I put cashews in it? But so many people are allergic to cashews. But maybe if I did a teaspoon of olive oil, but you know, maybe, but then like the physicians won't like this because there's olive oil in it. And I'm literally just like, I want it to taste good first and foremost, but I also want it to be healthy and I want it to, I want everyone to be able to enjoy it. But, I in this process have lost my own intuitive cooking
Mhm.
superpowers. And it's something that I'm really working on because it's like, where's the line? Like, where do you draw the
Yes.
line in that,
Yes. Yeah. I think, first of all, I think you and I need to schedule weekly calls to talk each
I
other through
think,
some stuff
I
because
think
having the
so.
same feels. And the other thing I'm thinking about already as you're saying this is just when you were talking about, basically finding your own way as a chef to the table and what you bring to the table and not putting yourself in that box, right? So this is that same thing. So
I
how do we
know.
get back to that, right?
I
It's it,
know.
it, it but you care about all of these things people are saying as well. Like they resonate for certain people and you understand the different elements of it, right? So it's like, but at the end of the day, like you can't help everyone ultimately. So you have
I
to, if
know.
you make the authentic choice to you, that's going to be the best one that makes a difference with somebody, probably, I would say.
I know, it's so true, honestly, and the way that you just said that resonates so much with me because it is like people are putting it in boxes for me, even from a
Yeah.
book sales perspective,
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
book needs to sell, so, like, it better be amazing or, like,
Hmm.
it has to fit in all these boxes, so, yeah, it is interesting, like, really trying, and I think, when people leave comments, I think they're trying to be helpful or they're
Sure.
everyone sees the world from their lens.
Yeah.
So they see a recipe that they want to eat and oh, there's nuts in this. I can't eat this. I'm going to say this. But
Right.
at the end of the day, for me, it just gives me so much panic because I'm like, oh
Me
my
too.
God, all these people can't eat this recipe. What am I going to do? But you're right. You can't please everyone. And this is really a really good way to like completely destroy your creativity. So,
Yes, it's so
you know,
true. It's so true. And also and I'll say this so that we can move on to the book, but it's a very interesting conversation we're having. I
yeah,
love when someone takes that moment on Instagram to say, "Well, I can't have this because let's just say I can't have this because it has nuts." And I'm like, then baby, scroll through. There's like a million
yeah,
other things on my Instagram that you can probably eat if you really need to find something that's nut free. But they really need to take that time to
I
let you
know.
know. And then, as creators, it gets stuck there a little bit where you're like, oh, wait, but that, 10% or whoever isn't going to be able to enjoy this. But then there's 90% that can. So we have to remind ourselves, it's
There's
hard
like
though.
thousands of comments in the back of my brain at all times that I'm always trying to be like,
Yeah.
get out of
Yep.
here, go
Yep.
away. I think
Yep.
if you're listening and you're someone that does that, a better way to approach it would say, hey, I'm allergic to cashews. Is there an alternative to this?
There you
Because I would
go.
love to try it.
I
I think
love
that's
that.
better.
I love
You
that
know,
suggestion.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that suggestion. Listeners listening in. Well, chapter 1 is guilt-free comfort foods. Here we go. We're diving in. Items in this chapter everyone wants. You start the book out with a bang with spaghetti Alfredo, roasted red pepper lasagna, shepherd's pie, mac and cheesy goodness. You hungry yet, listeners? What are a couple recipes from this chapter that are go-to comfort foods for you?
Mm. Oh my gosh, I have to like go, but it's so funny. Now that I'm writing this new book, I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote this other
Well,
awesome
yeah, it's
book.
probably like a
I
jumble, just
already
all
did
jumbled up
that.
there. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, I love the lasagna recipe. I got this. It's so funny. I got this Amazon review of this person that was like, this chef made this pink lasagna. Like she's out of her mind. This is grotesque. I returned the book because of this, and I was dying laughing, dying laughing. Because I put beets. It's a roasted red pepper sauce with roasted beets, and it's so
And
amazing.
it's
I
gorgeous.
love it. It's
The pink is
gorgeous.
vibrant. It's got a
It's
ruby red
pink.
allure to it. It's gorgeous.
Life is too short to just have boring red
Yeah,
lasagna.
come
But
on.
hello. So I love that. I love the Alfredo because I use cauliflower in the sauce, so it makes it really fluffy. It's kind of got this like richness from the cashews, but also the fluff from the cauliflower, which I really love that. And I think it's good for kids too because kids are just some kids are so
Sure.
anti-vegetables.
Yeah.
And I think that's a nice way to kind of like ease them in. Same with the mac and cheese. I think the biscuits and gravy recipes in that
I
chapter
believe so. I believe you're correct.
and the spelt biscuits with the butter that's in the essentials chapter are like
Ah.
so amazing. I
Fl-
love using spelt.
You got flaky buttery biscuits and mushroom gravy in this
Yes.
chapter. And then you said you have spelt biscuits in the essentials chapter then. Spelt, that's an ingredient I need to get a little more familiar with.
I am addicted to it. I
I love
went through
that.
such a phase. I have a deep dish pizza recipe. I think that's in the guilt-free comfort food too, or maybe it's the better than takeout one. I'm not sure. Um, But yeah, the spelt pizza crust in the deep dish pizza is so good. And spelt is such a super grain. It's full of iron and protein, and it's just so good for our gut health. And of course, if you have celiac, like don't have spelt.
Right.
But I think a lot of people are really afraid of gluten in general, and all gluten is not created equal.
Right.
I think for me personally, if I'm allergic to barley. So if I have anything that has barley in it, I'm like, not well.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that all gluten-y things have barley. And for me personally, if I have like a super processed gluten-free bread, like it immediately makes me nauseous. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it's better for you,
Right.
So I love spelt because it's one of these kind of like untouched whole grains that you can pretty much only find organic. It's kind of expensive, but it's so dense. It's so good. It makes such a good crust. It makes such good bread. I have a seeded spelt like loaf in the back of the book
Mm-hmm.
too. And it's just so good. It fills you up. It's got protein. It has like really everything that you need where you're not eating just like empty, refined white flour
Yeah.
bread,
Yeah.
which doesn't make you feel good, which can cause inflammation if it's, not organic. So yeah, the spelt. I could have a whole podcast talking about spelt.
Unspelt. Spelt time, spelt radio.
Yes,
The Spelt
exactly.
Chronicles. There we go. That's what I was searching for. There we go.
Exactly.
Well, that deep dish, the Chicago style classic deep dish pizza, it is in your next chapter, which is better than takeout. And you live in San Diego now, and you've lived in San Francisco for culinary school. So I'm a city boy myself. I spent most of my life in New York. And takeout can be a way of life, and it's so unhealthy in places like that. So you're solving some issues here with some must-make recipes. If someone just picks up the book, what is the recipe they need to make first from the better than takeout chapter?
Man, that's like my favorite chapter.
It's so
No, I
good.
love the whole book, you guys. I'm sorry. I will say that the watermelon poke is amazing.
I love that.
That's so good. That was such a trend for a while. I had to hop on it. It's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
But yeah, the deep dish pizza is very unique, and it has a cashew mozzarella that you make. You put fire roasted tomatoes on the top. It's so good.
Delicious. I love it. We've also got avocado curry noodles in here, purple pesto pizza, and orange sesame tofu. That one's screaming my
That one's
name.
fire. Yeah.
Ooh, it looks so good. And we've got our next chapter is inspired by Mexico. I mean, I'm sold right away. Headed for these crispy carnitas, mushroom burritos, and the seared sweet potato flautas with avocado salsa verde. But say you're entertaining and you want to impress some guests. What's a recipe or two from this chapter that can wow the crowd?
The flautas for sure. I've
Mm.
made that when I was first coming out with the book. Like I made that for everybody. I was like, you need this, you need this, you need this.
I
The
love
flautas
it.
are amazing. The chili is so good too. The slow cooker maple chili.
Okay.
It's so, so, so good. I'm trying to remember everything that's in that chapter.
Well,
I
and
love
it's
that we're doing this
spicy
right now.
maple slow cooker chili, which I love. Give me a little spicy, give me a little maple, get all the
So good.
goodness in
So the
there.
secret with that one is I grate sweet potatoes into the chili
Mm,
instead of like chopping them up, because when
yeah,
you grate them in, they kind of disintegrate into the broth, and it makes the
amazing.
broth like really hearty and kind of sweet, but because
Okay.
it's like savory and garlicky and spicy, it really just like pulls the whole thing together. It's really good.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, our quick and healthy chapter is next. And this is our next stop on the Chef Bai culinary tour here. Healthy bites that do not sacrifice in flavor with great recipes like 30-minute marinara and garlicky spaghetti squash, kale Caesar salad, always a win, roasted sweet potatoes with crispy kale and tahini dressing, and the garden bowl with citrus shallot dressing. A quick and healthy meal in here. Raw walnut lettuce tacos, I also love. Always love pulling those together. Tell me about the Mediterranean veggie skewers with chimichurri, though.
Oh my gosh. So I used to put on retreats in the Riviera Maya with my girlfriend who's from Cancun, and her dad owned this diving lodge down there. So we would put on retreats and we would always go to this place called Chimichurri. And it was always just so much fun. They had empanadas, but they had nothing vegan. It was long before I was vegan. This was when I was going out and like fishing for fish and then cooking them in the sand
Sure,
and teaching people how to gut fish. It's such a
sure.
different life. It's such a different
Different,
life
different
than,
time, different
but you
time.
know, the last steak I ever ate was at this place called Chimichurri. And it's so interesting because at that moment I knew it was the last steak I was ever going to eat. I was like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
so done with this. But the thing is like that place just brought back so many good memories for me. And it just, those restaurants that you just have gone to, like, especially your days living in New York, I'm sure there's
Mhm.
a restaurant or
Mhm.
two that you
Yep. Mhm.
just thinking about it
Mhm.
makes you so happy. And so that was this place. They had the most amazing chimichurri that they brought with bread, like right when you sat down. And that was like my little ode to that restaurant and my friend Bree, who did
I
all the
love that.
retreats with me. So
So
yeah,
good.
that's that was
And
all
you're
about.
taking something you love and making it vegan even better. And you're right.
Exactly.
It's a restaurant called Demole in Queens. It's like our perfect date night. It's not all vegan, but my husband and I will go. We would go, and like they've got like 5 vegan items on the menu, and they're great.
It's
They're
enough.
fantastic options. And we go and we'll split the fajitas and we have
Love
some
this.
chips and guac and we're like good, and it's just a great night. It used to be a great walk from our apartment, so yes, I feel you on that. Morning mastery is our next chapter here. I love breakfast for breakfast, breakfast for lunch, breakfast for dinner. So these fluffy flourless acai pancakes may be making their way onto my dinner table tonight. And you have some
Mm.
awesome smoothies and juices in here with a go-to green juice, golden hour juice, midnight dream smoothie, and tropical green smoothie. Is there an item in here that's in your regular breakfast rotation that made it into this book?
Yeah, so I have such a hard time eating cooked food before like 2 p.m. And
Okay.
I actually started practicing, I do this every spring and summer, like 5, 6 days a week. I do raw till 4
Okay.
because I just love the way it makes me feel. I've tried raw vegan, like full. I can't do it.
It's so,
I just,
so much.
so hard.
So much, so hard. So many
It's so
nuts. I
hard.
don't have a problem with nuts at all, but it's like you're just like
So many nuts.
everything is like and just chopping and I just bought a beautiful new dehydrator and I was like, "Ooh, maybe I'll do like," and I was like, "Just calm down. Don't get too excited. You'll use
One
it
day at a time.
appropriately." Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I feel
So
you.
I will do it till I've been doing it till 4. I've been doing it for a month, raw till 4.
Good.
I actually had a cooked breakfast this morning because I'm with my family and I got nauseous immediately. It was like too much and it was at like 9 a.m. So it's too much. My body
Yeah.
was like, girl, we are not used to this right now. But with that said, I just love the principles of eating raw fruits and vegetables to break your fast. I
Mhm.
think it's so important to do it. You get the most vitamins and minerals and it just helps keep you hydrated, it helps keep you vibrant. There's so much water in raw fruits and vegetables
Yeah.
too. And so, like, that's just a principle I've been living by for so long. My whole journey started with a green smoothie. I was always a whole milk latte and croissant kind of girl. And then I was like, I need to make a change. And so I just started drinking a green smoothie every morning for a year. And it changed my whole life. It changed
Yeah.
my whole perception on food. It changed my energy levels. I stopped drinking caffeine on an empty stomach. There's these tiny little tweaks that we can make that can change our entire lives. And that's kind of why I called it morning mastery, because I think if you can master those first few hours. I have a also terrible morning routine. I just want to say, like, I'm great with food, but I'm trying really hard to get better at like meditating and like not looking at
Sure.
my phone. And I think it's always a work in progress. So I don't want someone to listen to this and be like, "Oh, she's got it all figured
She
out."
got
Because
it all together.
I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I think when you can figure out that food piece, you have a much better chance of having a clear mind in the morning. If you drink a smoothie before you drink coffee or matcha or tea or whatever in the morning, you're so much more likely not going to have anxiety in the afternoon. There's so many little tweaks that you can make first thing when you wake up that can really change the whole course of your day. And I think the juices in the smoothie, the green juice, I drink every day. And, the two smoothies, I just make a variation of that constantly all the
Yeah.
time. I love it. And so the Midnight Dream smoothie actually was a smoothie. I tried to replicate a smoothie that I had in Bali, actually, and it was the most magical smoothie I've
Ooh,
ever had.
I love
And my
that.
my husband and I got engaged the same day in Bali. So
Amazing.
it's got good vibes to it. We both took a sip of this gingery, chocolatey blueberry smoothie, and we were like, "Oh, we have to recreate
Ooh,
this." So
already
that's kind
sounds
of,
delicious.
yeah, the Midnight Dream is so good, chocolatey. It's got chocolate, ginger, spinach, blueberries, almond butter, and it's just kind of like such a weird combo, but it hits so good.
Oh, it sounds delicious. So good. And I know we're talking about all these delicious raw foods for the morning, but you do have listeners. There are these blueberry cinnamon rolls with maple cream cheese icing in here. So she's got you covered on that front
So
too.
good with spelt flour. So you
With
know that
spelt flour.
I know I'm consistent.
Look at that. Yeah, right? Coming through with the spelt. I love
Yeah,
it.
I really am such a strong believer in stocking your pantry and, finding recipes that can utilize all these ingredients. So if
Hmm.
you buy an expensive bag of spelt flour, you're going to want to make more than just one thing from it. And so I really wanted to kind of, you'll see throughout the book, you see a lot of the same ingredients used over and over and over again because, I want people to feel confident in the money that they're spending at the
Yeah.
store or stocking their pantry and really being able to thrive with their budget
Yeah.
in buying these ingredients because I know it's not easy for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's a great way to avoid waste as well.
Exactly.
You're really putting if you're putting money into an ingredient like that, and this is so great. I mean, spelt is a great example, and for you not to just use it in one recipe, to actually be like, wait, variations, different things you can do, so you can put it all to use. That's great.
Exactly.
We got midday munchies next, and this seems like a great chapter that people could even like meal prep out of if they wanted to. But it also looks like there's lots of things that come together on the fly. And you've got a Reuben in here. Now I'll tell you, when I was filming the vegan roadie, everybody, the first 3 episodes I did, I'd say, well, what do you want to feature from your menu? Everybody said they're Reuben. It got to where I said, I can't do nachos and I can't do Reubens because every episode had nachos and Reubens on it. And I love a nacho and a Reuben. But what makes your Reuben special, gal?
It's so funny that you say that because my Steve and I went on a search to find the best vegan Reuben. And everywhere we went, we were having a Reuben for years. And it got to the point where I was like, I can't have any more Reubens. I think, from all of that, what I learned is that I didn't want something super greasy
Sure.
because a lot of the Reubens that are so good just don't make you feel good afterwards.
Yeah.
Like the Reuben at the Chicago Diner in Chicago is so good,
Sure.
but you just don't feel good afterwards.
Yeah.
Like you need a solid nap.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
what I try to get away from with veganism and being plant-based is that
Mhm.
food coma afterwards. So I think what differentiates our Reuben is the fact that it is going to make you feel good and still have all the flavors. Using tempeh, I think, is a good reason for
Great.
that instead of seitan. I think seitan can just feel so heavy. For me, it just feels so inflammatory. Like I eat it and I feel like my face just puffs up
Sure.
immediately. So I think that's the biggest differentiator in it. And
What
the sauce is amazing.
what's your sauce made of?
Oh my God.
I know I'm asking you to dig deep here. I can even turn to the page here. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see.
I don't know.
That's all right. I'm asking you about a book that came out 2 years ago. Trust believe. If somebody asked me, I'd be like, biddy 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 biddy.
I did live and breathe this whole book at one point. Let's
Oh,
see.
here we
This
go. I got you. Thousand Island dressing. So we have a cashew cream, tomato
mhm.
paste, sweet relish, onion, horseradish, salt, Dijon mustard, and syrup. Sounds delicious. And comes
Yeah.
together with ease. All those things are easy.
I mean, that's the goal. It's like I want people to feel like they're a chef without
Yeah.
without the pressure,
Yeah, without the pressure, bringing all those good flavors together. And on your Reuben tour, did you crown a place with the best Reuben? I must know.
I will say it was a tie between the Chicago Diner
Okay.
and this place in Bali. And I
Well,
have
okay.
No idea what it was called because it was in 2018, but it was blew my mind.
Amazing.
My mind was completely blown. Me and Steve were just eating it, looking at each other, just like,
Like, what's happening?
how is this possible? Better than any non-vegan Reuben I had ever had, also.
Amazing. I'm trying to think of the best one I had now, and it was strangely at like a cafeteria, a hospital cafeteria somewhere in Indiana, where I was
Okay.
like, I know, I was like filming, and they were like, "Oh, you have to go to the hospital," and I was like, "No, I don't." First of all, and they were like, "No, you got to go to the cafeteria, and you have to have this Reuben there," and I was like, on my way out of town, and I was like, "Let's stop and give it a go." It was delicious. Don't know the name of the hospital, can't remember, but isn't that weird? That's so
That's
weird, right?
bizarre, especially because it was vegan. Most hospitals don't have vegan food.
It's like the world I live in now with PCRM is like helping them have plant-based food. So having this memory of having a Reuben there, I'm like,
Yeah.
I wish I knew who it was now, because I'd be contacting them and being like, how did you get this on the menu? What steps did you take? Who did you need to talk to? You know, it must have been privately owned
We
hospital.
need to talk about that afterwards because Steve and I have been
Yes.
having such in-depth conversations about hospital food lately.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
chat.
We'll
We'll
sidebar after this. Sidebar. We'll put that in our weekly checkup there.
Okay, yeah.
This chapter's also got the rustica Italian chopped salad, crispy rainbow tofu bali bowl, Moroccan lentil soup. So many great things. And of course, the next chapter is a healthy sweet tooth. My sweet tooth is raging and often in charge. So I'm a sucker for a healthy sweet treat. I see I have so many choices here, from pistachio, cherry, and cacao, no churn ice cream to mocha chocolate cake with avocado frosting.
That
Come on
recipe,
now.
that recipe is
Ooh, well, the question I'm going to ask you, I feel like that is the answer to my next question. So that's okay if it is. But my question is to you, if you're going to serve a dessert from this book at a dinner party to wow some people, what is a dessert you think you would serve from that chapter?
I would serve the matcha cheesecake.
Oh, it looks so good. It looks so
It's
good.
so good. My
I
dad's
love
from New
it.
York City, and so
Okay.
he's a real cheesecake kind of guy. And
He
so when
loves
I
it.
made this for him, he cried.
Oh, approved.
Hmm.
Ding.
It's so
Approved.
good, and it's gluten-free.
Oh, and look at that even. So look at all these
Yes.
steps. Good, good,
But I
good.
mean, they'd all be really good. Also, the depending on, if you're having like a more casual type
Sure.
of dinner party, the cookie skillet is amazing too.
Love a good cookie skillet. I love it.
Yeah,
And we've
love it.
got pecan cacao date bars in here, berry crumble, so many delicious things to satisfy your sweet tooth. And we finished the book off with an essentials chapter. I love me an essentials chapter because
Need
I
it.
love making stuff from scratch and finding out what I love it when I come across a recipe in someone's book, or if I make one of my own, even where I suddenly am using it all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to make that sauce or that spread and I'm going to put it in there and I'll use it. So what is something from, I can tell you right now, for me, I'm looking at this, is the Berrylicious Chia Jam from your
Oh
book, where
yeah.
I'm like, ooh, I think I want to have that on rotation. What's something from the essentials chapter that you keep on hand on the regular?
Okay, so my husband is like an insane milk drinker. He'll go
Okay.
through a half gallon of plant-based milk in one day. He just
Where's he, where's he from?
Chicago.
Okay. So got that Midwest vibe going on then. Okay.
So hard.
All
So
right.
he drinks so much milk. It's
Okay.
insane. Like with his cereal, he's got a super bad sweet tooth too. Like he's just constantly drinking it. So we make one of the Cashew-Hemp milks, which makes a half gallon probably every other day
Amazing.
in our house. So it's always in our house. And we love that one because it's no strain.
Yeah.
I have no time to be
I have
straining that milk.
zero
I have no
patience
time
for
to be
that.
straining.
No, come on.
Who
Come
does?
on.
I
And then I'm like,
can't.
did I get it all out? Oh, am I wasting anything? What do I do
I
with the pulp?
can't. Like
Oh,
I'll do like a fine mesh strainer if it's
sure.
necessary, but
Get
like
a
that's
little,
as far as I take it.
feel
But
you.
I will say the ricotta is also really
Oh,
great
great.
too. I use the tofu ricotta all the time, but I also really love the almond ricotta for salads and stuff like
Okay.
that. I mean, this whole chapter is basically the bread and butter of my kitchen. The cashew cream,
Yeah.
I put on everything. I just made a big batch for my parents while I'm here. And the veggie broth too, I use all my cooking scraps to make a vegetable broth.
Beautiful.
And it's just such an easy way to reduce your food waste. It's
Mhm.
such a cooking hack too. If you just have a bowl with your scraps, you
Yeah.
just throw it all in there because you don't have to worry about like opening your trash can while you're cooking all the time.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, this whole chapter, the whole essentials chapter is, if you were to walk into my kitchen, I probably have every single one of these at all times, like the
Well,
walnut parmesan, the spelt bread, like
And not your mama's salted butter. Let's go back to that because you mentioned it in the beginning, and we can close the book on that. Tell us about the not your mama's salted butter. What's up in here?
It's just so good. It's honestly so good. It's not the healthiest. Like, I got a question the other day, and I'm writing a book about it's called Breaking Up with Dairy. So I'm writing a
Love
dairy-free
that.
book right now. And it's hard to make butter dairy oil free. It's
Yeah.
impossible. It's
Yeah.
it's not impossible, but it
Sure.
won't melt.
Right.
It's
Right.
not gonna melt.
Right.
Like, it's just gonna sit there
Yep.
on the pan if it's
Yep.
oil free. So this one does have refined coconut oil,
Okay.
but because it's refined, it has no flavor to it. And
Right.
so it's really takes on the flavor of, let's see what's in here. It has oats, so it has oat milk, cashews, apple cider vinegar, refined coconut oil, and salt. And it's super simple. I think, when you go to the store and you buy a vegan butter, it has so much stuff in it
Mm-hmm.
for some reason. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it seems a little
I know.
unnecessary.
I know.
It's so
It's
unnecessary
not
to
so
me.
it's so it can sit there forever if need be,
That's true.
Oh,
Yeah, it's shelf life,
the
but
shelf life.
if it's a good butter, it's not gonna sit there forever, let's be real.
Exactly. Come on, let's be real. We're gonna use
Yeah,
that up.
oh, can you hear me?
I got you.
Okay,
Yep.
I almost lost it. Almost lost my earbud. But yeah, I really love this as like a perfect butter alternative. It
Nice.
melts amazing. It works so good in baked recipes. You can use it as a base for a butter compo. It just hits so good. If you
Does it?
set it out, you let it soften
Yeah.
for 30 minutes. So good, spreadable. So yeah, it's definitely like
This is making me just want like toast and this butter. Like I just want to and it would be the seeded herb spelt bread I would make toast out of here. The seeded herb spelt bread,
you'll
yeah.
just never be the same once you have this combo.
Never be the same once I have the combo from Cook, Heal, Go Vegan by Bailey Ruskus, aka Chef Bai. Hey. What's your book brag? Tell me something you're most proud of when it comes to this book. This is your moment to brag.
I am just so proud of the community that cooks this book. This book is 2 years old, and when I first put the book out, I was a very tiny creator. I was just a chef that just was on Instagram just because it felt like I had to be,
Sure, I feel you.
And I put the book out after 2 weeks. Not much happened with it. You have a lot of hopes and dreams for your first book. And then all of a sudden, I went viral on TikTok, and the book became an instant bestseller in every single category it was in on Amazon overnight, which is a really big deal for me because I didn't think that I could do that at that level of my
Sure.
career. I felt like such a baby at the time. So that was amazing. And then to really see people from all over the world ordering the book and cooking the book, like people from Switzerland and Sweden and Australia and Japan, like cooking the recipes out of my book and messaging me, telling me that I'm changing their life, or, their cholesterol has dropped hundreds of points, or, I'm just so proud of what this book has been able to do for other people, because I think there's such a misconception of once you go plant-based or eliminate animal products, like your pleasure in your food leaves the table
Sure.
too.
Mhm.
And I think we have to rethink all of that, because
Yeah.
I'm a wine and dine kind of food girl, like I need it to be amazing in order to eat it. If it's not good, I won't even like I won't even
Yeah.
bother. So I feel that when people are afraid that they're not going to get that same pleasure. And I think this is teaching people that you can really have it all. Like, you can have what you want, you can have what you need, you can heal your body, you can still eat bread, you can eat Mexican food, you can eat all the things you love, like these al pastor tacos,
Oh, so good.
and it's kind of sinful to say a vegan al pastor taco, but like
Sure.
it's all in the marinade. And when you really think about plant-based, if you even think about meat, like you would never just boil a chicken breast and
Right.
expect it to taste like anything.
Exactly.
What makes it taste good is plants. And so when you really think about it in that way, you open up your minds to so many more things. And I think that's what this book does for so many people. And I'm just tens of thousands of people have cooked through this book and messaged me, and it's just insane. Like, I never thought that I would be able to touch this many people with my food And I just think it's pretty awesome. So
Oh, I love that. That is a brilliant book brag. It gave me little heart feels here. So I love that so much. And now I'm gonna throw you to the fire here with your rapid fire round of questions. Are you ready?
I do this to guests all the time. So this is my
And now it's your
this
turn.
is my karma.
Now we're gonna put you through it.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Number 1, waffles or pancakes?
Waffles.
Food on a skewer or a tiny spoon?
Oh, I'm gonna say, it depends, man. Because if the tiny spoon has enough flavor, I'm gonna go with the tiny spoon because it's like it's just a pure example of living in the moment. You know what I mean?
Very good. Ooh, let's roll with that. I like that.
I like that. Yeah.
Favorite pasta shape?
I love big shells.
Nice. Like jumbo stuffed shells or like, yeah, okay. Delicious.
I never get to find them gluten-free, really.
Oh, I didn't think about that, yeah.
But when I have a good stuffed shell, or like a manicotti's good too. I just love like the stuffed pasta.
Me too.
I love
me
it.
too.
So
Now I
good.
want manicotti. Hot sauce or barbecue sauce?
Neither.
That's all right. That's
Hot
fine.
sauce. I do love Cholula. I'm a Cholula girl.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Favorite spice to cook with?
Ooh, favorite spice to cook with? Sumac.
Great. And favorite preparation of a potato?
You know, I made these potatoes the other day that were like mind blowing.
Okay.
So they were yellow potatoes, like golden potatoes from the farmer's market. So, and they were great organic, so they were super soft. And I matchstick cut them. So I julienned them, super small. I flash boiled them. What's it called? Blanch. I blanched them really quickly. And then I tossed them with sliced garlic, truffle, like grated truffle, Himalayan pink salts, dill, and white pepper, and an organic olive oil that I got from my client who just went to Italy.
Oh my gosh.
And I tossed them, and then I cooked them at 450 for like 15 minutes, tossing them in between. And oh my God.
Then we're gonna call that the Chef Bai preparation then, because that is straight up delicious. And
It was nuts.
that's signature
so
right there,
good.
honey. That's what we're gonna call a signature right there. I love it. Ooh. So let's say you and Steve have the whole day, you don't have anything on your schedule. What's a favorite way to spend your day with your husband?
Okay, so we would wake up and then we take our dog. Obviously, we'd have to wake up in order for this. I can't believe I started with that. Wow.
I'm glad you're waking up. I just want to say.
Some days it's hard, you know. I would have a big old green juice. I think my best days start when I have a big green juice followed by a matcha. I love it. Some strawberries. Like it has to be strawberry season. It's perfect situation. And then we go to this place called Black's Beach in San Diego. And it's basically like this huge hike down this cliff. And then you get to the beach and the dogs can run on the beach before 9. And there's this huge cliff next to you and this beautiful beach. There's no one there. There's surfers. There's always dolphins. So
oh my goodness.
We try to go there twice a week. So it's always, I have the most amazing day when we start our day like that. And it's only 5 minutes from our house. So it's
I love this day for you.
It's pretty amazing. And then we'd probably go get brunch at this place called Donna Jean in San Diego. Listeners, and you specifically, if you've never been to Donna Jean, there's one in Sherman Oaks in LA, and there's also one in San Diego in Bankers Hill. And the Chef Roy is amazing. Like they make all their own. They do like a 6-day aged pizza crust.
Wow.
They make all their own cheeses. Honestly, it's some of the best pizza I've ever had. It's all plant-based. The whole restaurant is plant-based. So I would have brunch there, and they have a breakfast calzone that gets served with a hollandaise sauce.
My gosh.
And it is literally life-changing.
What's in it? Like a tofu scramble or what's?
Yeah, they put like a tofu scramble, like spicy Calabrian chilies and kale, and like it's so, and like the ricotta cheese that they make in house. It's so good. course, my perfect day revolves around what I'm eating.
As it should.
Let's-
Amazing. Fantastic.
And then I would honestly probably just go to the beach and like ride the boardwalk with Steve. He's a really good skateboarder. So I love to just like either rollerblade or bicycle behind him. And he just like skates like crazy through the whole boardwalk in San Diego. And then we'd probably finish it up. I don't know, like a picnic on the beach with wine or something like that.
I
Yeah.
love that. Sounds like a very good day to me. Very
That's
good.
my like average Saturday.
I
So,
love it. Oh, that's lovely. Good for you,
Yeah.
I say.
romanticize that life, you know?
Oh, yes, yes. Manifest it and make it true. What's your most used emoji?
My most used emoji. Oh my God, probably the melting face.
How do you find the melting face? Like, what do you type in? Melting?
It's just always the first one for me.
Every time I've asked someone this question, because they'll send me the melty face and I'm like, I can't find the melty face. And then so I'll ask somebody, how did you? And they'll be like, it's just my first one because I use it so much. And I'm like, so I just need to use it over and over so it lands.
Oh
in
my gosh,
there.
I'm gonna see right now. What is my most used emoji? It's the laughing. I have a rocket ship, the melty face, and
Great.
then a mushroom.
Love it. That's great. That's
Very
great.
on brand, yeah.
What's a must-have tool for you in the kitchen?
My chef's knife. That's all you need.
Absolutely. Server asks you how spicy you want your food on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the spiciest. What's your answer?
1.
All right. I love it.
Yeah, I get heartburn. So
Yeah,
like
mine used to be like an 8, and now I'm like, let's make it like a 3.
honestly, and I've been scarred from Thai food restaurants. So
Sure.
like even if you say 3,
Yeah.
it is not edible. It's too spicy
I
for
hear
me, you know.
you.
So yeah, I'm a solid 1.
Yeah. Cupcakes or donuts?
Donuts.
Yes. And favorite ingredient in regard to its health benefits?
Favorite ingredient in regards to its health benefits. I'm gonna say cashews because there have been studies done where cashews have been shown to decrease depression and anxiety symptoms. And I think in a day and age where we're all so anxious, I'm always trying to do whatever I can to help myself feel less anxious and to help other people feel less anxious as well. And like that's why I love using cashews in replacement for dairy, because whereas dairy can cause anxiety and like
Sure.
a lot of, issues, especially with addiction, like dairy is so
Yeah.
addicting.
Yeah.
And it can just be highs and lows of that, like, that dopamine kind of hit. Whereas if you use cashews instead, you're actually giving yourself longevity when it comes to your mental health and having, it's not that initial dopamine hit,
Right.
but in the long term, it's really going to help with those symptoms. So I would say, I think cashews are such a superfood when it comes from a chef's perspective too. Like they're so versatile. You can use them in so many things.
So versatile. And I think you
Yeah.
just had an Instagram post up with I believe it was like a chia, like a breakfast, but it also had to do with anxiety, right?
Yeah, it's a series I have. It's called the Anxiety Antidote series.
Beautiful.
And so many people are struggling. The world is really stressful. Being in the United States right now, I'm having a really hard time with it myself. And it's just hard to exist here right now. So I'm trying to do whatever I can within my content to help people kind of mitigate. I mean, it's hard to just avoid it because it's just like it's a shit show, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think there's little things that we can do to kind of help soothe ourselves and cure the anxiousness. And so hibiscus tea can actually lower your blood pressure, and it's actually really great as an anti-anxiety too. So I've been putting hibiscus tea in my smoothies instead of like a plant-based milk or water or juice. I just put hibiscus tea, and it's really good.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, your last question is very easy. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see. What's your favorite cookie ever?
My favorite cookie ever? Oh my goodness. I have this raspberry dark chocolate pistachio cookie on my blog, and it's pretty good. It's so delicious. I'm going to say it's between that or I just like love a really amazing chocolate chip cookie.
Hey, hands down, who doesn't? That's great.
It's just so simple, but when it's done right, there's just really nothing better.
I love that. Well, hey, you did it. That's your rapid fire. Everyone, go get your copy of Cook, Heal, Go Vegan, a delicious guide to plant-based cooking for better health and a better world. everywhere books are sold. Hey, where can everyone find you on social media and the internet, please?
All over the place. So my website is www.chefbai.kitchen. I have so many resources there. I have a 14-day plant-based challenge. I also have a course called the Period Liberation Protocol. So if you're suffering with painful period symptoms, things like endometriosis, PCOS, adenomyosis, whatever, I basically made a protocol that breaks down everything that I did to help heal my symptoms naturally from endometriosis. So that's on there, which is something I'm really proud of. And my cookbooks, all the things are on my website, my blog that has hundreds of free recipes. It's kind of
Yes.
insane.
Yes.
Like it's insane. So yeah, that's awesome. And then I'm on TikTok and Instagram at chef_Bai. I'm on YouTube at Chef Bai, Pinterest, Chef Bai. And I have a podcast. It's called The Plant Remedy. And it's just it's a passion project. I've been doing it since 2019. You know, podcasts are the best way to meet friends, the
Yes.
best way to meet people in the industry. I think it's so hard being a creator or being an author or whatever. I think it can be so isolating. So I
Yeah.
absolutely love the podcast, and we have such a cool group of people that listen to it. And so yeah, it's called The Plant Remedy. It's available everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the things. So that's where
There
you
you
can find me.
have it,
Yeah.
everyone. That's the way you can get yourself into the world of Chef Bai, Bailey Ruskus, and you won't be sorry as she helps you start to live a happier and healthier life for yourself and the planet. And go get this book, Cook, Heal, Go Vegan: A Delicious Guide to Plant-Based Cooking for better health, and a better world. Chef Bai, thank you for
Thank
all
you.
the good that you do. It was a delight to chat with you today.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Keep On Cooking. Please be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a review if you like the podcast. It helps a lot.
It sure does. And get more information at the new website, dustinharder.com. Here you can find more info on the podcast, Dustin's cookbooks, the Vegan Roadie web series, and even sign up for Dustin's free monthly cooking club.
That's right. You can also learn more about my one-on-one strategy and cooking coaching I now offer at dustinharder.com. And of course, follow me and all things Keep On Cooking at my new handle on Instagram at the Dustin Harder. Now get in the kitchen and keep on cooking. And hey, remember, it's nice to be nice. This has been a Muzzy Cat production.